Hey, hey!
Hey, guys.
What's going on? Welcome to Triplet Talk.
Triplet talk.
Triplet Talk. Today, we are talking about marriage. No, our triplets are not getting married.
No.
The kids are not getting married. They're not even a year old yet. They're almost
legal.
a year. No, it's not legal.
You notice how we said marriage together?
Marriage.
Did we plan that? No. But it's symbolism.
Symbolism. Love and marriage goes together like a horse and carriage.
It's a musical part. No, I'm just kidding.
There we go. And so, but yeah, no, I felt that this would be a good topic because, you're getting so focused on the kids, raising the kids. And it's like, well, what about the marriage? How does raising triplets, how does that affect the marriage? Does it change it? Does it make it stronger? Does it make it worse? Do you kind of put it on the sidelines? What's kind of that situation?
Yeah.
And so let's just dive into it right now.
Here we go. All right. So we were talking about marriage, which seems like a funny topic to talk about on a triplet podcast, but it's extremely important to talk about. I'm kind of glad Vince had the idea to talk about it, actually. So Vince and I have been married for 4 years. We got married May of 2016, and high school sweethearts. So we've been together for a very long time. We met senior year of high school towards the end. So like this, it'd be like the summer of, going into senior year, we met. And we ended up going to prom together. We went to college together. And right after I graduated college, we were engaged. So we've been through a lot together. Even before triplets, which, obviously triplets is a lot to go through just in general. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because Vince and I always say we're both older siblings. We kind of talked about that. So we're always kind of in this weird, we always feel like we're doing everything for everybody. And in our marriage, I feel like we have a really nice, I'm not going to say divide, but we understand how to help each other. And I think with triplets, you have to help each other out. I mean, even if, it's different with when you have one kid, you can kind of, hey, I need to take a break. Can you take this kid and I'll go do, whatever. And you don't feel so bad about it because one person handling one kid seems kind of like, oh, okay, that's fine. But when there's 3, I mean, it's like really hard to just, okay, here's, here you take all 3 and I'm going to go to Target. I mean, it can't happen. And even day to day, it help with triplets there day to day is essential, of just being able to, keep your sanity, I think is the word. And I think I'm just very, very lucky that I have Vince. I can't imagine my life without him in general if I didn't have triplets, but having triplets with him, I think was destiny because we really understand that we can't just leave each other hanging. We have to always kind of be there for each other, and we're always asking each other for help. I think that's a big thing to mention because a lot of times, you're in your daily routine and you're kind of just like, trying to get through stuff, and you kind of lose sight of the fact that, somebody could have a little extra time to give you help. And Vince and I are pretty good at being able to tell when the other person is kind of needing a break or help or something, and I think that's really, really crucial. But Vince is a kick-ass dad. I mean, I can't even I probably shouldn't swear on this, but and I knew he would be. I always knew. That's why I wanted to have kids so bad. That was one of the reasons, but he's not at all a dad to sit on the sidelines and just you got it. And it's like, oh, well, no, duh, it's because you have triplets. I don't think he would be like that even if we had one kid. I honestly, Vince is so he's like dedicated and hardworking and just the lovable and caring and selfless. All the words. I mean, if you know Vince, you definitely know what I'm talking about. So, yeah. I mean, and I'm going to look at other things in our marriage too. But, you know, obviously having triplets is hard. Duh. But, you know, and there's moments where you're just completely, everything is, you know, kids have taken over. You're just counting down the minutes till bedtime. And then you're going to bed. You're watching 10 seconds of a Netflix show and you're just passed out and you get to do it all over again. But I think going through times like this of just like awkward growing pains and learning curves of just becoming parents and growing with him together have really strengthened what I already thought was like a really strong marriage that we had established before we had kids. So I am very thankful for that, I will say. And I'm going to also say that it's fun. I mean, I love that I have a husband who is such a involved dad. He wants to be there. He wants to know, like, how did they eat? Did they all poop today? Like, he wants to know these things because it's like, he is their dad. And I think there is this like weird stigma where like, oh, the dads, they can just like do whatever. And like the mom will just take care of the kids. And I never liked that. I never understood why the dad got this like free pass to just like walk away and like not, you know, not be as involved. And, you know, I'm curious what Vince is going to say about it because he kind of, once again, it is completely different with multiples. But, you know, anybody out there that's, you know, expecting a baby, expecting twins or triplets or, you know, has a baby or anything, any kind of parents in any situation that are married, I think it is important to understand that, you know, especially if you're a new parent, you've never done this before and you're kind of learning and you're in this awkward learning like phase of life and you kind of put your marriage aside sometimes, you know, but you have to kind of, you have to almost like just take time out of your day to really appreciate each other. And Vince and I really, really try to do that when the kids go to sleep. We like to like, how was your day? Like what, you know, we like to like talk and chat and like catch up with each other because you just get in this groove. And it doesn't mean that you don't care about the person. It's just you're hyper focused on, you know, wrangling the crazy kids. So yeah, marriage is just crazy. It's so funny because our anniversary this year was a quarantined anniversary and we couldn't go out, which was something Vince and I were like kind of hoping to do with, you know, having triplets and being, you know, kind of stuck in the house anyway for most of, you know, this since they were born. So we were kind of looking to, you know, just go out and get something to eat or whatever, but we ended up, you know, getting takeout of like some kind of fancy Italian food. And my parents watched the kids while we ate. And this was back in May. So right now, you know, it's like mid-October. And I remember Vince and I, we were just sitting across from each other. We had like candles lit on the table. We had like fancy wine. We were like eating. And I don't remember the last time we did that. I mean, before we had triplets, like it's all we did. We ate together. We talked together. We went out to eat. We had fancy drinks on occasion. You know, it was like a normal thing. And then we're kind of sitting there on our anniversary and most of, you know, a typical dinner that we have is, you know, we're wrangling all the kids kind of screaming. We're, you know, are we going to eat with them tonight? Or are we going to try to feed them before we eat? Or like, you know, maybe I'll eat dinner, maybe I won't kind of situation. So it's just a different phase of life, but I'll kind of never forget that because it was such a different, and then I remember we were eating and we sat there in like total silence. And then we kind of looked around and we were like, nothing's wrong. We're just like taking in like there's nobody crying. Like we don't have to like run or jump or, oh my gosh, go get this, go get that. Like we could really just enjoy each other. I think that's really special. And I don't know, I look forward to that, like growing our relationship too, because it definitely has changed. Obviously it changes every day, but with the triplets too, I mean, we've grown to love each other even more than we thought we could, because I think when you have kids, it's almost just this weird extension of yourself. So it's this love that you have for your kids being extended onto your husband or wife. That's how I look at it. So I really, really, really value, all the time I get to have with my husband. And, when we can like do things as a family, all of us together, that's really special too. So there's just so much you could talk about with marriage, but no, I'm just like extremely, extremely thankful that I have a husband like Vince that's so like, there's so many words, dedicated, and his love for me and the kids is just like unconditional. Just very lucky, very lucky to say the least. And it's, I mentioned earlier that it's a struggle. So, you do get lost in stress and burning out as a parent and frustration when things aren't going right. And I think it's easy to ignore the problems. It's kind of easy to, walk away and just like go on your phone or like do, something else and not like talk about it and discuss it. But I really do think that parenting is a relationship between that really, really, really like takes root from the marriage. So if your marriage is strong between the husband and wife, I think the parenting aspect will even be stronger than you think it will be. Just because you have that connection, you're on the same level, you're able to discuss things and work things out together as a team. It's not a, you do this, I do that, I won't do that, you don't do that situation. And I think that's a very old school way of approaching, marriage and having kids, is like the wife takes care of the kids and the husband goes out and works and, pays for everything, which is fine. That's literally what we're doing right now. I take care of the kids and Vince works, but I do think the husband should want to be involved and should be involved as much as possible. I understand that work has to happen. You have to do things to support your family, but I just can't get enough of like seeing Vince just like light up when he gets to like, because he works obviously from home right now, but he'll come downstairs and like see the kids and he just gets like this big like face, like, and they all just start laughing. Like there's those moments where it's like, I can't even imagine like if he just didn't like, you got that right. And I'm like, haven't showered in a week, like same clothes, like eye twitching in the corner, kids crawling everywhere, like, please help me. So I think it is important too, if you're a mom or a dad and you're kind of struggling with certain things, either with kids or marriage, I mean, try talking it out, really try, and if you have done that, I mean, and it hasn't really worked like you wanted, I think, finding a certain thing that you guys both connect with and really, really discussing it. And I think making it work with yourself, like between you two as a marriage, is really, really important for your kids. I had mentioned that earlier, but think of it more that way. So you're helping each other in your marriage. That way you can help your kids. So it's kind of that you can't pour from an empty cup. I think it's a phrase. I don't know who said it, but I love that. I live by that all the time, because it is important. And I think I would love, like, once we're, the triplets are like slightly older, like they're almost a year old, but like I would love to get on every other week, Vince and I do a date night, or we're actually very good with once the kids go to bed, we're going to watch a show together. We're going to, make popcorn or whatever, watch a movie. Like, we're really good at having those moments. Cause like, let's be honest, like a lot of times you can't, make these grand, like, let's go on a date and dress up. It's life. It's not a movie. You can't like do all these things you want to do, but it doesn't, you don't even need that big stuff. You just need little stuff that kind of reminds each other of how, what you were before kids. And people are always like, oh, things were so different before we had kids, but it's like, things are not worse when you have kids. Like, your relationship gets so much stronger after you have kids. And I wouldn't go back for anything. I think it's totally something, I would wish on anyone who wants to have kids. It's amazing for you and whoever you're with, because it just strengthens you in so many different ways that you didn't even know was possible. And it's just, marriage is just never stops changing, and the problems never stop happening. But it's when the problems and the fights and certain things happen and you work it out together as a team, that's when, things really start to strengthen and you can just really thrive in your marriage. And that's where I'm going to stop.
All right. So the topic today is about marriage and how raising triplets it's gonna have an effect on a marriage. It is. There's gonna be a lot of stuff that you wouldn't be able to do before, when you were married and didn't have kids, versus now. We have a ton of kids, not a lot of time on our hands. Somehow we manage to squeeze in a podcast episode every week, but basically, yeah, it's definitely different. So I guess to start, let's start with kind of the beginning. So Lauren and I met when we were 17, 18 years old. I think we're both 17. And so we started dating in high school. We started dating senior year of high school. And then things were still going great, still loving each other. And we started continue dating, obviously, throughout college, And after college, once we both graduated, got our degrees, I was working and just kind of crashing at my friend's house for a little bit, just trying to get my job, kind of get everything all kind of figured out, and I had a big savings account so that way I could get an apartment. But my job at the time was a contract job. A lot of creatives kind of know that you can get a lot of jobs that are contract where, there's going to be kind of an end date and maybe your contract renew, maybe not. It just kind of depends on the projects and what you have access to. And so I was just kind of saving. I'm like, well, if I don't get this next job, I don't necessarily want to get an apartment, and kind of figure that all out. So I had this big savings, and I took that whole savings and decided, hey, I should just buy a ring for my wife. For my girlfriend. We were looking at rings, and she was like, oh, this one's really great. Oh, I love this one. This one's great. And I was like, you can't get that one. That's ridiculous. That's so expensive. Maybe one day, you're going to get the $5 ring, get the ring from the little machine that you do for 25 cents. She was not happy about that at all. But, that was just all ploy. That was all ploy. See, that's what you got to do, gentlemen. You got to set low expectations. So that way, boom, when you do anything normal, it's like incredible. That's what I do. That's my advice for fathers and husbands and boyfriends and all that good stuff. So I'm setting it real low. Like, there's no way we could ever get a ring like that. You're out of your mind. And the next day, I'm at work, and I go back to the jewelry store during my lunch break, and I say, hey, I'm here to buy that ring. So here's all my money. Take it. So I took my whole savings and spent it on a ring, and then popped the question after we both graduated. So she graduated a little after me. I was working at the time. So, and then eventually I found a great job, and I'm doing that now. So awesome. So married life before kids. It still felt like I was busy. Still felt like I had a lot of stuff to do, especially owning a house. A lot of stuff going on there. I didn't realize how much time I spent with my wife at that time. It just didn't seem like that. You both go to work, you come home, you have dinner, you ask how your day was. We have a dog, Vincent, so you can play with the dog for a little bit, and then you just kind of relax and watch TV for a couple hours and go on your phones, and that's kind of it. There's nothing real crazy. There's a lot of just kind of open free time. And I like to believe that my wife and I are very good at communicating with each other and really just kind of expressing what we want to a certain degree. And we don't have a problem, I don't think, arguing with each other and being able to kind of say I'm sorry and, forgive and all that stuff. Growing up, my parents, they'd argue, and then, 10, 20 minutes later, they were perfectly fine. It was just kind of, some people, I know some parents, they'll kind of hide the fighting away from their kids. But I just kind of got to saw firsthand that you can have an argument with someone that you love, and it doesn't mean that the whole marriage is over and everything's destroyed and it's this chaos, but rather you can express your thoughts, you can hear the other person's thoughts, and have these arguments, and then come together and actually become stronger than before, because now you don't have that tension anymore. The things that were bothering you are now expressed, and you kind of have a better understanding of each other, and in turn your relationship gets stronger. So I kind of witnessed that with my parents, and so we're just kind of like that, where we can kind of argue and do stuff and express how we feel, and then we get back together, and our relationship is stronger each time, which is great. So it's pretty common, it's pretty good. And so with kids, you don't necessarily get that as much. So now they're still arguing. They're still like, okay, how are we doing this? What's wrong with the kid? Blah, 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 blah. But, it's just your time is very much dedicated to the kids. When you're not working, it's about the kids. And I think doing things like this, for example, we kind of get a little bit of time together where it's just us talking, even if we're just talking about the kids or we're talking about whatever's going on during our day, which has been pretty good. But it's definitely different, I guess. I don't want to say it's a challenge, because I think we've been dating for so long, we understand each other, we communicate very well, to where we kind of understand that we can only dedicate so much time in the day for each other, and we try to make a conscious effort to do that. And so it kind of works out well. So I would say, if you don't have kids yet and you'd like to have kids and you're married, really dedicate that time, build on that, and make sure that you're kind of establishing that relationship, so that way when you do have kids, you don't feel that need of like, well, how come I never see you anymore? It's like, because we're both raising the kid, And so I think that would be a nice little piece of advice. The other thing too is with kids, at least with the triplets, like I said, you're always busy. You're always working on one and the other, and you're kind of helping each other out. And one thing that's been interesting is I do believe that our relationship has gotten better. Not to say that my relationship was bad before. It's just I believe it has gotten better because you get those wins. You get those wins when you have kids, to where it's like, it's the little things where you go, okay, they're all in bed, they're all asleep. Give a little high five to each other as a couple. Now we can go relax and spend time with each other and not have to worry about the kids right now. Or we're able to get them all fed. We got them all all their baths are done. We're able to calm the situation when all of them were freaking out and crying and we didn't know what was going on. When you do those things together, you feel like you won as a team. You know, it's very much like us versus the kids type of team. And you're always just trying to keep the kids calm, make sure the kids are being taken care of, doing everything, and you feel like it's a team effort. And I think that would be another thing too, is to kind of have that mentality of we're the team. You know, it's not mom and the babies and then dad's over here, or mom and the babies versus dad and the babies, and it's kind of like mom versus dad, but rather it's like mom and dad, and then the kids are the enemy. Kids are the bad guys. They're the red team. We're team blue. Because when you have, like, for example, there's times where you just want to vent, and you just gotta be like, I can't believe that these kids are doing this, and I just don't know what to do. And your spouse is like, I know, we created horrible children. Like, what? I don't know what to do. And so, but then when they calm and they do something great, you feel like you accomplished something as a team, and you feel like you're like there's times where very little times, as we talked about in our sleeping episode, where Vincent likes to get up early. He likes to get up between like 5 and 6, right? But there's every once in a while, Santa Claus comes a little earlier than Christmas, and Vincent will sleep in a little longer, like 6:30, 7 o'clock. We'll wake up at 6 a.m. thinking, okay, he's up. Why is he not up? We look at the monitor, see that he's asleep, and you would have thought that we won the lottery, because we're just like, oh my gosh, it's happening. He's sleeping past 6 o'clock. This is amazing. I love you so much. This is great. This is life-changing. And you're just so happy, and you go back to sleep smiling. You might cuddle a little bit tighter with your spouse, because you're like, we did it, even though you just slept for an extra 30 minutes. But it's those little wins really can really make things great, and can really, I believe, make your marriage even stronger, because you're going, look what we did. We did this thing. This thing that might seem little, might not seem like a big deal, but all the parents out there, all the triplet parents, all the soon-to-be parents, the quads, everybody, when you get those little wins with your spouse, fantastic. It's the best feeling ever. It's better than getting 16 doctorate PhDs. It's better than the lottery. It's just great. And you feel as if you and your spouse accomplished something, which is awesome. And I feel like that's what really makes our marriage, like I said, it gets stronger. So to summarize, because this one I'm just going to keep it a little bit shorter, is marriage is definitely different before and after triplets. Before triplets, it felt like we had a lot of free time, even though at the time we didn't feel like we did. We felt like we were constantly busy. Oh, we got to go this, we got to do this. So everything's so crazy. But we always tried to make time for each other, and to kind of spend time with each other. We love spending time with each other. I think I love spending more time with her than she does with me, in my opinion. I think she could kind of, be alone, and I'm just like, hey, so what are you doing? She's like the only person I actually like. So, but once we had kids, you're thinking, oh, you got to make sure you're spending quality time with each other, which is true. But I think really the big idea, the big mentality that you should have is thinking of it as you're making these little accomplishments together. You're taking care of the kids together. You're both trying to help each other out. And there's times where one of us will get just super stressed out, right? Let's just say it's me. I'm trying to do everything I can, and nothing is working, and my brain is snapping. I'm not even thinking clearly anymore, because I just can't handle all the screams and the crying, and I don't know what's wrong. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to. And that's when my wife will say, hey, I'm going to take the kids. And she'll just kind of let me take a 5-minute breather, let me recharge the old batteries, and then I can come back in, and then we get everything taken care of. And I do the same for her. If I have this feeling like, okay, she's tapping out, she needs someone to tag her in, I'm like, put me in, coach, I'm ready to play. And I kind of, take more of a lead with the kid, so that way she can have just a little decompression time. And in turn, when things are going great for the kids, and when things are starting to really work, and you really feel like you're doing something as a parent, you feel a greater admiration and a greater love for your spouse, because you're going, look, we did this. We did this. We created a monster, and now we've calmed the monster. And so it's great. It's great. And that's how I'm going to end it. And we are both back.
Back in action.
Back in action. So, funny thing is, I thought of this topic. I was like, hey, we should talk about marriage.
Yeah.
And then I did my part, and I listened to Lauren's, and I was like, wow, hers is actually a lot better.
Oh,
a lot more. Oh, yeah.
I feel
totally.
like I missed the mark. I was talking about like kids too much.
I missed the mark. I called the kids monsters.
Yeah, you kind of did. You said they were the blue team or the red team.
The red team.
Yeah, I was like, ooh.
And you were talking about like how great I am, and just how good of a husband I am. Which,
well, it's true.
So now I gotta bring it up to I gotta make a record here. I'm gonna make the record straight here.
All right.
If it wasn't for you, there's no way I could be the dad that I am.
Yeah.
There's no way. You are the rock star. Everything she said about me times 20 for her. Okay, she's the anchor to this. She's the foundation. Without her, I would just explode and combust in flames. Like, there's no way.
Thanks.
Yeah, you do a lot of the heavy lifting. You do all of the heavy lifting with the kids. I just come in with the smiles. He's in there and it's fun. It's like, yeah, because I know I get to go to work after this,
Yes.
and then I can miss you. I can miss the kids. You don't get to miss the kids
No.
because they're always around.
No.
So that's all I got to say is that every compliment she gave to me, hers is 1,000, because without her, there's no way I could be the father I could be.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're
That's
welcome.
very
sweet. You're welcome. So I want to make the record straight, because I felt like I was like, yeah, kids are monsters, and you're like, Vince is so kind.
You were
to
like,
our
we
children.
created the monsters.
We created monsters.
Oh my god, Vince, we did want kids.
Yes, we did. We
You're
did want
acting
kids,
like we don't.
and you were one of the things that made me want kids, because I was so. I wanted children. It's always like, oh yeah, when I have kids one day, I'm gonna go do this. But I was at the same time very anxious, very nervous,
Right.
constantly panicking about normal life stuff. And I thought, oh my gosh, if I have to raise a human being, it's over. And then we got triplets. Well, no, because I feel like I couldn't do it. I feel like I was more worried about me being able to do it, because I was so anxious. However, I just, from dating you and being married to you, I was like, if anything, Lauren's going to be a great mom, a really good mom, because you're so loving, you're so caring, and you love cute stuff. So you meet all the qualities.
I do.
And so that made me more confident in myself of like, well, as long as I have her with me, we can raise kids. And then we got triplets, and I was like, I can't do this. And then now we can.
The math doesn't work out. We got 3 kids, and then we got 2 parents, and then what?
It just doesn't make sense. So that's what I wanted to say in terms of thoughts on hers. Hers was clearly better.
No, that's not true.
Yeah, I thought so.
No. It's not. I think we both had really awesome points in each of them. I felt like I talked too much about after marriage. I felt like you talked a really good amount about before or after marriage. After triplets. Sorry, Jesus. Before we had the triplets, when we were first married, and you mentioned that we had some free time.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this free time that you speak of?
Time can't be free.
What is this? What?
What? What
but
kind
yeah,
of
we
socialist?
did. I mean, we were like, what do you want to do? Like, I felt like we really didn't do much. I'm not saying we were boring. We're a little boring. We would like go to Target and then get like Coney Island.
That
like,
sounds
go
like
home
a
and
nice.
like watch.
Go to a nice
Netflix.
Chili's every once in a while,
Oh God.
And you really got to get fancy with the Chili's.
But I mean, we didn't. But we weren't those kind of people. Like, we didn't go to bars all the time. We would hang out with friends and stuff, but it wasn't like every day or anything. So we did live a pretty chill life.
Well, yeah, we were just, we just like to relax and hang out and, spend time. We were both homebodies.
Yes.
We like being homebodies.
I really do
we
love
weren't,
being home.
let's go to the moon or whatever people do nowadays. I don't know.
But I did want to say when you, something you had touched on in your individual session was you said, you kind of made a point to address people that don't have kids yet. And you said, if you're married and you're planning on having kids, to like really build that relationship with your spouse beforehand. And I would 100% agree to that. I think that's like extremely important to really have that connection and strong relationship, because your life completely changes. Like, I don't care who you thought you were before, and it's not, I say this all the time, I'm a completely different person after kids, but like most people wouldn't think I am, but I know deep down inside I view things totally different. Like I don't buy things for myself anymore. I don't look at like, oh, I should buy that for myself. I look at, oh, I should buy that for my kids. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same with like, and you get married and it's like, we should do this together, so it's almost just like this bracket of your life that you're just, it's just completely, it's different and it's fun. But yes, I would 100% agree with what you were saying.
I think I heard somebody say, I don't know if it was your parents or somebody, I don't know. I heard some other adult say like, I don't remember not having kids.
Yeah.
And it hasn't even been a year for us technically, but I just, at the same time, I don't really remember like what it was really like, because like you said, if I want to buy something, or if I see something that I would have bought because pre-triplets, I'm instantly doing the formula math in my brain where I'm going, okay, how many cans of formula for this? And I just can't justify it. Meanwhile, if I find a cute little like stuffed dog, I go, okay, Vince is going to need that.
Yeah,
so I buy 16
money
of them.
isn't an option. You're just like, well, he's got to have 20.
Well, he's got to have 20. He's got to have little cars and stuff. There's
Yeah.
so many times where I'm walking around the store with just all these like kid toys and stuff, and I really have to be like, okay, you can't give them everything, so you got to kind of figure out, like, you have to be able to like pay for food.
So it's like a different excitement in your life.
It's different.
It's fun, like you're not in this. It's not yourself. It's a little part of you that's running around that you just want to like give all the cute stuff to.
Yeah, exactly. But I think also too, I don't, in a way, it's hard for me to kind of remember or think back to when, before I was even married. And we haven't been married that long, so it seems kind of weird that I'm saying that. Yeah. But just being married to you just makes so much sense to me.
Right.
And the more and more we get married, the longer we're married, the more it seems like our relationship gets stronger, and we're going through so much stuff, and we're actually being more like ourselves.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're first dating somebody, you're like just kind of wading the waters, and there's the whole, I like to go scuba diving because that's interesting, right? And now it feels like we're so comfortable with each other that we can be very forgiving of one another. We can kind of understand, which is crucial for when you have kids, because you're going to be going crazy, and you have to learn to kind of forgive each other and kind of understand where you are in a certain situation. I think we both kind of talked about that. Like when somebody is just, that they just need to get tagged out.
It's
because
burnout.
They're burnt
it
out.
happens,
Yeah.
and I really want to do a podcast episode on it because it is so real. I don't care if you're a mom, if you're a dad, whoever you are, you're dealing with kids, or you hit a point and you get so just like stressed and frustrated, like everything is piling up, you're boiling over, you're beyond stressed, you're not thinking clearly, and you need help. You need somebody to come up to you and just say, hey, go sit down, go walk outside, go get some fresh air, go take a break, go take a nap. You need it, because you're not yourself, and you're never going to admit it. Like, you have this like pride, like, I can do it, I can do everything, and then you just crumble. It's like I mentioned, like, you can't pour from an empty cup, because it's so true. It's so true. You put your own, what is it? Put your own face mask.
Oxygen mask on before you put on your kids.
Yeah, your oxygen mask. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it help, like, having that in your relationship to where you can turn to your spouse and just like, hey, I got to do this. Like, can you please just help for a second? Like, having that moment of trust in them to be like, yeah, sure. Or if, I feel like Vince and I are pretty decent at being able to tell without asking, like, hey, hey, you go do this, I'll go, and okay, cool. And we kind of get these little moments of breaks when we really need them. So, but that's us. But I think, if you're in a relationship and you're kind of hitting these like burnout walls and stuff, just taking, you take 5 minutes of it and then offer it to somebody else, because it's like someone offering to help you with that is like the best gift you could ever give to somebody, I think.
Even if you don't want it at the time.
Even if you don't want it, because you don't even know. I want to do an episode on it. I feel like I
feel like you just did the whole episode.
Well,
I think
whatever.
we're done with that.
There's still more we can talk about it.
There's still more.
I did want to say, too, I touched on it in mine, but I do really appreciate how you always step in being a dad. You're not I think I said sideline dad or something. But yeah, no, you're always just like, what are we doing? You're changing diapers, you're feeding babies, you're changing babies, you're all this stuff. You're doing it. Like, you're not, there's really nothing that I wouldn't trust you to do with them.
Yeah.
I could tell you to do anything, and I wouldn't feel any type of like, oh, he can't handle that.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely trust you with everything. And that's good to know. And also, yeah, because at certain times, I feel like I'm not the kid I'm not the guy on the sidelines, but I'm the kid who's also playing on the team, and and you're like the coach, or I'm the co-coach, or there's times where I'm the coach and you're taking a break and doing stuff. So it's definitely a mix. And like, I mean, we both had the mentality of we wanted to have kids, and I think part of a big chunk of that was because of our marriage. We kind of had that understanding. We were like, okay, we want to have kids because we have that strong relationship, and we feel confident in each other that no matter what happens, we can handle it.
Yeah.
And then we had triplets, and we thought we can't handle this, but then we did, and I explained it in mine. All those little wins that we get every day. Yes. It's every day. They say that the kids are going to be a year old. I say they're going to be 365 days old, because it's every single day. It's that kind of battle. But when you win those battles, when at the end of the day and the kids are all asleep and they're fed and they're changed and they're just sitting there smiling and all adorable, half the time, how many times do we high five each other, but not too loud because you don't wake them up. We high five and we're like, good job. Like, we accomplished something today together. Yep. As a team. And
so like little victories that
they make a big difference.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you would have told me 2 or 3 years ago, hey, you're gonna have triplets and all this crazy stuff, I'd be like, I don't know if I can handle that.
Nah, people don't do that. People have one kid.
Yeah. That's crazy. What are you insane?
3 kids? Who does that?
Who's having these 3 kids?
Who does
Psychopaths.
That? I don't know.
Like us. So there's that. But also too, I think I even tie it back into how big and how important you mean to me in that, and that gives me confidence, because I was also worried about just getting married in general. Not married to you, but just getting married in general. I was nervous. Okay, it's one person, it's whatever. And even like on our wedding day, I was nervous about being nervous about the wedding. Meaning I was like, man, what if I get so nervous? Like what if I get so nervous up on the altar that I pass out? Or if I get so nervous and I freak out? And all of that really didn't happen, because I woke up that day and I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting married to Lauren today. I like Lauren. She's pretty great. That's the person I want to get married to. This is going to work out great.
5 out of 5 stars.
5 out of 5 stars. So, and that's kind of how it goes with this, like raising kids. Like, oh man, it's like, I'm not raising kids by myself. I'm blessed. I have you here. So I'm like, well, okay, this is going to be great. And then also too, I absolutely, adore and love our kids as much as I love to joke about them on this podcast.
Yeah. It's all good fun.
It's all good fun.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
I think we covered a lot.
I think we did.
Yeah. I feel good about that.
Yeah, I feel good too. Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for listening.
Yes, we appreciate it.
We appreciate it. If you have a spouse, tell them you love them.
Yes,
and
give them a break.
Give them a break and get ready because
say they can go to Target and buy whatever they want. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, maybe not that. Get a nice budget.
Yeah, no.
You know, but if you want to splurge, Chili's. I don't know.
Oh God.
All right.
All right. Bye, guys.
See ya.